Okay, so Smart Recovery organizational overview. It is a nonprofit organization. They are primarily volunteer operated in the U.S. Primarily in the U.S., over 300 groups. They have groups in the community, at correctional institutions, online, other related services. They do training and publications. And Smart Recovery promotes choice in recovery. Obviously, at some point in the recovery process, there were very few choices, you know. And in fact, even still today, I mean, as we know, you're mostly going to find 12-step options. Not that that's bad, but there's not a lot of other choices for people, okay? So Smart Recovery offers one of those choices. Smart Recovery, they're abstinence groups for any addictive behavior. Not to be confused, there is no such thing as, you know, cutting back, that sort of thing with Smart Recovery. They believe in complete abstinence, okay?
What's the group name that thinks that you can drink again? Is it a group or is it just a thought?
Hold on, it's harm reduction.
Harm reduction.
But
I don't think it will.
What F that?
Yeah, no, that's for people like us. It's not an option. I mean, we know that we're addicted to whatever it is or everything, and a little bit is a little bit too much. You know, we always take a little bit to the next level. So, Smart Recovery does a scientific instead of a spiritual approach. So they take a scientific approach, use scientific tools, psychological tools. They are not against spirituality. Smart Recovery is not against God, but it is not a part of their program. So they look at biopsychosocial disorder versus disease and discussion meetings versus no crosstalk. So in a Smart Recovery meeting, we can discuss things, whereas, you know, in a traditional 12-step meeting, there's no crosstalk. Okay, none of that. Smart Recovery is more of a back and forth kind of thing.
Like you have the moderator.
Yes. Well, that's the thing, and that I think is one of the reasons you can do no cross, or you can have discussion in a Smart Recovery meeting, because you have a trained facilitator. If Tori starts getting out of hand, I can get her back down before Eddie wants to strangle her. You know, which is the problem when you don't have that, and people are going back and forth.
Well, you did a good job with that GA meeting about, now I want to talk with you later, before she grabbed his throat.
That's right, and it escalates.
Yeah, somebody was going to go.
Yeah. Those types of things can escalate.
Yes.
The intersection of self-empowerment. Smart Recovery tools allow you to empower yourself. So you might notice, and maybe you have in some of the other Smart Recovery sessions, that there is some level of self-help influence in Smart Recovery.
Do they do the months and the days like you do? I mean, like how many years do you have, or how many months do you have?
That's not something that they go around and do. I mean, people might talk about it, but that's not like a primary thing. And you know, people might bring it up in the group. Hey, I haven't had a drink in 3 years. You know, and people will congratulate you for that. You know, but it's not a mandatory piece. Empirically supported treatment and what will work in a support group versus Smart Recovery therapy coming up. So there's diversity. There are other support groups. Scientific findings were used in creating Smart Recovery, and there were some legal decisions that had come up that Smart Recovery decided to be who they are. Okay? And when I say legal decisions, there's I forget the exact case, but there was an issue with court-ordered 12-step meetings, and someone challenged that, and for different reasons. I would have to look it up. I don't have it here. So Smart Recovery came up with a different option. Race, color, gender, religion, age, national origin, veteran status, sexual orientation, physical disability, it don't matter. Diagnosis, personality, temperament, motivation, core beliefs, social support, life situation. Come on in. So diversity in addiction, recovery, and treatment. Degree of natural recovery, involvement, goal treatment approach, like the 12-step disease model, other religious, CBT, energy methods, motivation enhancement, skill building, and passive change. So if you look at AA, there's an acceptance of powerlessness, a belief in a higher power, acceptance of the label alcoholic, and lifelong group attendance. Established in 1935, largest of 200 plus 12-step groups. 93% of U.S. treatment is 12-step based. Some of the alternative support groups: Women for Sobriety, secular organizations for sobriety, Rational Recovery, Smart Recovery. Now, Rational Recovery existed, and Smart Recovery came from that, actually. It's still around today, but Smart Recovery is, I think, larger than Rational Recovery now. Moderation Management, Life Ring Secular Recovery. This was just a little survey, and as Sandy mentioned, it's kind of old at this point, but I find it interesting, and I think even today you would find a pretty high percentage of people come out with these numbers. If you look at the blue, when asked what works with recovery, 45% of the people said only 12-step exists. They believe that only 12-step exists. 47% said others exist, but they don't work. And then only 8% of the people said that other forms of help might help. Okay? So, I mean, what that means is, obviously, 12 steps has been around a long time. It's well known.
Well, you could take 35 from 98. I mean, it was there all those years.
Yeah. It was there for a long time. All right. So the stages of change with Smart Recovery look like this. Pre-contemplation. Judge usually is making you do this, or your wife's making you do this, or somebody's forcing you to do it. You're still kind of resistant. You think you could stop whenever you wanted. Contemplation is, I know I have a problem, but I don't want to do anything about it. Preparation is, I know I have a problem, and I want to do something about it. I'm going to start planning on figuring out what I need to do. Do I need to get a therapist? Do I need to go to these meetings? Do I need to go to rehab? What do I need to do? And then I take action. I go do it. From action, I move into maintenance, which is what, and most of you right now are still kind of in the action phase. Action. And then as your life goes and you continue to do this and you settle into a new normal, you're in kind of the maintenance piece, right? See, this is the only part, I think it's the only, like, maybe one or two things in Smart Recovery that I don't totally agree with. One of them is this permanent exit. I'm not convinced there's ever a permanent exit of growing. Yes?
You said it's a scientific thing?
Mm-hmm.
So scientifically speaking, that is empirical, because it says that the option is either a permanent exit or